birth. Warangesda Aboriginal Mission on the Darlinton Point property of Jeff and Margaret King. Mrs. Edwards found the place much changed, of course, and she spent a couple of hours just exploring and naturally answering questions from all sides. Isabel Edwards was born at Warangesda Aboriginal Mission in 1909, the fourth child of William Murray and Mary Jane Stark. All that remains today is the manager's residence, the school, the butcher's shop and the dormitory.
There was 2 streets of houses, and there was the manager's house, the dormitory, and besides that there was a butcher shop and the store. And to the houses, to the cottages, the people had a small fruit shop on the end of the verandas, though, you know, built on the end of verandas. It was really little township. I used to drive from here to Narrandin in Washington to the doctor. There was no Griffith then when I first remember. We used to drive up to Narrandin. At first, doctor used to come from Narrandin once a month and everybody could go and see him. But if you got sick in between, you had to drive yourself.
Mrs. Edwards has never lived more than a few miles from Warangesda, and her grandfather, Jimmy Murray, was just as reluctant to leave the point.
Mr. Gribble was going over to see Queen Victoria, to see if we could get some land for the dark people around here. And he was taking grandfather with him. And grandfather was all ready to go until he got to Sydney. And they got in, they were in the booking office. He said Mr. Gribble was buying the tickets, and he said, "Oh, just a minute, Mr. Gribble, please." And he said, "What is it, Jimmy?" He said, "How long before we see land?" He said, 3 months. Well, he said, "Don't buy my ticket." He said, "I'm going home." So grandfather went home.
Mrs. Edwards' father, William Murray, was a pioneer activist at a time when Aboriginals were expected to take a passive role.
He felt they should stand up for themselves too. And he did. He used to write to Parliament. He wrote to Parliament years ago, for equal rights, he said, for the black fellow. The black man couldn't go in the pub and have a drink then, you know. And he started all that, him and another chap here. And I said, he didn't live to see it.
Bill Murray was also one of the first Aboriginal people to defy the Aboriginal Protection Society. The practice of taking Aboriginal children from their parents was widespread in those days, with officials claiming and believing that children from Aboriginal families could be better cared for by the society.
They wanted to take us, me and my 2 sisters. And this old Donaldson came and told Mum to have us ready in the morning, 9 o'clock. See, the men had all gone to work then out the road. They only used to bully rag the women. And so Mum said, "No, you can't take it." He said, "Yes, I am." She said, "What for?" Well, he said, "The dark people don't think as much of the children as white people." And Mum said, "I'm afraid you're mistaken." Well, he said, "Have them ready in the morning, 9 o'clock. So she waited till Dad came home and told him. He said, "Just let him come around 9 o'clock in the morning." And that old Donaldson came, I told him that paper. He came along and he said, "You got the children ready, Mrs. Murray?" And she said, "No, I haven't." Well, he said, "You want to hurry?" And he was bustling around there. He said, "Because we're taking them." And my dad come out of the bedroom. He said, "You get out that door."